pretty much, but not 100% your reserve team out. That tells everybody how interested in the competition you are.
I don't think they'll be crying up in Liverpool that they're out of this competition. They can't even take the FA Cup series now, half of these teams. So how are they supposed to take the EFL Cup? That being said, I mean, it doesn't hide away from the fact that we are going to sit here and most people, every time they go to a press conference, are going to say to Jurgen Klopp, how are you going to address these issues you've got at the back? I heard somebody in social media today, somebody was saying Liverpool haven't got an issue at the back. I mean, what planet are you living on? I mean, apart from a player issue, there's been 10 goals in 4 games. Yep. Right now, that sometimes can happen, but it's happening for a reason at Liverpool because they ain't good defensively. And he's made all these changes, and he continues to make changes. Now, I understand it today for the Cup, but I don't understand the continue changing personnel in League and Champions League games. I don't get it.
Can I say one thing, Dan, about this game? As much as I have no problem with Liverpool being knocked out of the EFL Cup, the one thing I wanted to see was Joe Gomez at centre-back.
Okay.
Because there's no question that's where Liverpool's problem is right now, right in the middle of the defence. And unfortunately, he failed. He was involved in a couple of the goals. If he'd made better decisions, they could have been avoided. So I'm afraid...
So is it just a coincidence that every single Liverpool centre-back is struggling at the moment? Or how much you put that at Jurgen Klopp's door?
I think you put it at the players' door first and foremost. The players are put in a position where there's a chance for them to show what they can do, and they can't do it. So it's a personnel problem. That's where Jurgen Klopp comes in. Not 100% personnel, because Klopp clearly is not coaching them particularly well. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty much in the camp of they're not good enough, and it needs to change, but it ain't changing until the next window opens. There you go, Red.
It's Klopp starting to look like a flop.
I wouldn't go that far. I think questions are starting to be asked, basically what he can do for Liverpool defensively. We've seen what he can do for them as an attacking force. Everybody pretty much agrees that they're great to watch. They score goals, and it's great. But that end of the field...
How many did they score a day?
Oh, well. Oh, sorry. And by the way, it was a reserve team before we get started. But regardless of that, it's the whole defensive question, and I think I probably agree.
You're saying he's a flop?
It's time he has to start answering some questions. Why they lose so many goals?
Do you think Wenger is guilty of fraud for the sale of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to Liverpool?
Tell you what, good for you. Talk about a black and white jersey with a black mask on.
You're gonna have to
stealing money.
Oh, I see, right, because he's a robber, yeah.
Oh, God, I've got to spell everything out for you.
It took a while, I was trying to work it out.
Take your time.
Okay.
All right, the task that football clubs have these days with a lot of football being played. Brian McBride is here with me this one. We're specifically talking about the Premier League clubs, Brian. Of course, we know your experience there and how managers and teams have to juggle different competitions from the Premier League to the FA Cup to the League Cup to the Champions League to the Europa League. The list does go on. So how do they do it in your experience? Has it always been that the domestic league is your bread and butter? That is what you put first?
It all depends on the club, really. I think if you take each club and separately look at them, especially the top 4 clubs that we're talking about, in the past, it was all about making sure you had a big enough side, and you had people that could fill in. You had cover at different positions, whether it's through injury or because the schedule is so vast. I think now, you're starting to see with the investments that Premier League clubs make and have made, there are a few different ones that are looking more towards the Champions League, I think, rather than the domestic side and winning the Premier League itself. So,
what was it like when you played, as opposed to probably what we're seeing now, some of the trends?
Well, at Fulham, we were a much smaller club. So you
looked for the magic of the FA Cup, didn't you?
Especially when I first got there, you viewed the League Cup as your opportunity. Your opportunity as a player to really try and force your way into the starting lineup. That still happens, and that's still a lot of the clubs, whether you're a marquee player that hasn't necessarily gotten a chance to play as much or you're coming off of injury. Those are good times for them to get back in. But, I mean, if you look at, I look at Chelsea, and I'm thinking, all right, they've won the Premier League. They're probably going to be focusing more towards the Champions League. In the offseason, I think they thought that. Now, you know, whether or not that's the case, certainly the Premier League is going to be a priority for them. Manchester United and Manchester United, Premier League first. They want to get back at top. I can guarantee you that. They put themselves back in the Champions League by winning Europa League.
What about someone like Tottenham?
Yeah, Tottenham, I think, is probably more focused on the Premier League than it is the Champions League. Looking at the Champions League as a bonus, making sure they try and get out of their group, I would say. But Tottenham hasn't won the league in forever. So that's one thing, is a club that hasn't won the league and has the opportunity. I think they definitely look towards that. If they win the Champions League, they'd, of course, love that. But Manchester City probably is the one that that team's been built for to win the Champions League and to compete in the Champions League.
All right, thanks so much, Brian McBride. So different strokes for different folks, and boy, are there a lot of strokes and competitions out there these days.
Please make note of Stevie's new pocket square.
Just following yourself, Dan?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yep.
It's definitely not his pocket turned inside out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely not.
Listen to the pot. Hey. Listen to the pot. Look at the state of that.
What?
Look at that. That's supposed. Can I borrow your hanky? Can I borrow your hanky? Oh, no.
That's what it's supposed to be. You've just turned your...
Yeah, but I'm taking the mic. You're serious.
I think
I'm doing mine for a laugh.
Well, of course this is serious.
Yeah, look serious.
It's the way it should be.
You might take your job more seriously.
Well, that's well, there you go.
That backfired on
Says the man with beans down his shirt.
All right, I must be mouth.
You're hungry, weren't you?
What did I do?
2 goals out of nothing, more or less. Set piece, corner, second ball. Boop. We don't push up all together. Small player, a little bit deeper. Second goal, just throw in. Yeah, a little bit too late here, a little bit too late there, and then it's a wonderful goal of Simani, of course, but it's just not good what we did in these situations, and we have to improve that 100%. So yes, we can play good football, but I'm actually not interested in this in the moment, because we know that, and I cannot say it every day. I cannot say every day, oh my God, we play really good football. And if you play good football, you have got to score. I have no problem with not scoring, because it's always we are really on a good way. And if you carry on like this in the second half, you will score for sure. So, and then that's how football is. Sometimes you have to try it more often. But if you then concede 2 goals, you saw immediately how the game changed. Hey, I got confidence, and we were a little bit, oh my God, what happens here? And that's how football is. And yeah, for a few days we have the chance to do it differently, and it makes sense to do it differently.
The performance, how happy you are with the performance? We have new names, young names arriving here. Are you happy?
Look, it's very positive. We played the last game against Burnley. It was the best Burnley game, for 35 shots. Today I heard the first half 13 shots. I'm not sure. Again, 8 changes. Yes, it was clear we have to change. It was clear we had to change for the last game. That's all good, but it's a result game, and we want to have results. And for this, we have to do all the things right. We cannot say we are only doing this. Right, so if you play tennis, you cannot say my service is perfect, but my backhand is very average. But I love playing my service, so that's not how it works. We have to be complete, and we can be, but we have to show.
I remember Cristiano Ronaldo. You're talking the top players there when he first came. I think people used to criticise him for the same things, and I think as footballers. If the opposition put 2 defenders against you and you're trying to beat them all the time, you have to find another solution after that. And that's what football is about, sometimes finding the right solution for that given moment. I think it's important that we show a statement of intent as a football club to keep all our players. And as you say, it was well documented that we had bids for Damari. We didn't want to sell him. We want to build the football club with players of his ilk, and it's important now, and he's shown a real desire to want to stay and progress his career with his football club. So I think that's important that we can now tie that one up and he can concentrate purely on his football.
It's been a while since we've tackled some rumours, and that makes Shaka Hislop very sad. So we've got some more rumour rated for you, Shaka, even though we know we're still a couple months away from the January transfer window. Philippe Coutinho, do you pick him to stay at Liverpool after everything that's happened, or not happened, rather?
After everything that's happened, if he hasn't left yet,
he ain't going anywhere. Liverpool quite clearly don't want to do business, even at the ridiculous prices that were quoted this summer. As a result, I don't see anybody matching that. He was overpriced anyway. I don't see it happening again.
Well done, Liverpool, standing your ground. And hey, it's clearly paying off. Timo Werner now at Leipzig to the Premier League. He's recently said some comments saying that there's a lot of favourable clubs that would be nice to join in the Premier League, more so than in La Liga, where it's just one or two. So do you think that would be a hit or miss?
I think it absolutely will be. Timo Werner is an incredible talent. There are a number of clubs I think that will be interested in his signature when time comes. And we have to see how that plays out. I think there are a lot of different options available to him, a lot of dominoes in place. Just as an example, let's say Real Madrid decided to go for Robert Lewandowski, and then all of a sudden an opportunity opens up at Bayern Munich. Would that tempt Werner? Absolutely yes, probably more so than any Premier League club. But as we sit right now, I think this is one that every single Premier League club is keeping an eye on, and if he decided to go to the Premier League, there's no doubt in my mind that he'd get goals as well.
Sonia, he's been hopping around for some time now. Things obviously not going his way at City, so would Chelsea be a nice revival?
Quite clearly, City, he's surplus to requirements at Manchester City. I'll say this. Ordinarily, I would have said no. I'm going to say yes. And I'll tell you, Antonio Conte turns Victor Moses into a Premier League winning player. Now, he hopped around and, in my opinion, probably showed less promise than Bakary Sagna. Now, if Conte can find a system to suit Moses, there is no question in my mind that Conte could find a system to fit anybody. You and I still have a chance of making a career out of ourselves with Conte.
Wow, I'm not sure if he's that good of a miracle worker. Let's move on. Speaking of people who do need miracles, Jack Wilshere. Boy, was it a thing when not even Bournemouth wanted to make a permanent move on him. We know the situation at Arsenal, so would a move to Crystal Palace be the thing he needs?
Yeah, and as odd as it seemed, going to Bournemouth, you look at Bournemouth and their struggles. I'm not saying it's solely down to Jack Wilshere.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think he came in, did well at Bournemouth. He is creative if you can just get him to settle down. Now, Roy Hodgson in charge at Crystal Palace. Again, on the face of it, it doesn't look like a fit. Jack Wilshere at a club fighting against relegation. But I thought he did an outstanding job at Bournemouth. Yeah. And for that reason and that reason only, I'm going to put that down as a hit.
Finally, Harry Kane, some people are of the belief that he needs to leave Tottenham to become world-class, or this world-class player. You already think he's world-class, so is he fine just where he is, or do you pick him to leave Tottenham?
I think he's absolutely fine where he is. He's world-class. That is without question. I think time will tell whether Spurs are able to compete at the higher end of European football. As we sit right now, I don't think so. I don't think Daniel Levy is that kind of man. So I'll put down Harry Kane to leave in search of European glory. I don't think he needs to leave Spurs to prove himself as world class.
But Spurs need to prove themselves to Harry.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Shaka Hissab. Continue tracking all of these rumors as they swirl around. You know that they...